Now, in this class, let us see how to create a text file. Now look at this. Normally we can read the data from the keyboard and then we are going to display it onto the screen. Now here, when I say text file, a text file can be created as shown below. Point number one is, when we use Linux system or Unix operating system, we can invoke any editor. I can invoke the editor VI editor, and then if we are using Windows operating system, we can invoke either the notepad or we can use a Word document, Microsoft Word file. Now suppose I use the notepad. Here I can start typing something. So after invoking the editor, type the text. For example, I may type something like this. Now after typing the text something like this, now what we do, we save the file. So here the next point is, and we have to save the text. Now suppose the name of the file that we are going to save into the hard disk is input.txt. Into this particular file, the contents of the file, that is Sai Vidya Institute of Technology, that content will be stored as it is. And this content normally will be stored in the hard disk. That is, after invoking the editor, type the text and save the text into a file. The file along with the data is stored in the hard disk permanently. This is hard disk. Pictorially I represent hard disk something like this. So the file contents, file name is input.txt and the contents of that particular file is this text, and that will be stored permanently in the hard disk till we physically delete it. Now let us see what is a text file. Now here we enter the sequence of characters. We may enter only letters, or we may enter digits, or we may input various symbols such as semicolon, colon, question mark, dollar, and so on. So a sequence of printable characters such as letters, digits 0, 1, 2 up to 9, and then symbols such as semicolon, colon, question mark, dollar, and so on, along with white space characters such as, what are white space characters? Spaces, then tabs, and new line characters. These are all printable characters. So all the symbols that we type like this are stored as a stream of characters in a file. So here whatever we type, we can store all these characters in the file. Though suppose the name of the input file is input.txt and I want to save all these contents into this particular file, we can use a save command. So whatever I have typed here, that will be saved into this particular file, all these symbols, and the data is stored permanently in the hard disk. So what is a file? A file that contains a sequence of printable characters such as letters, digits, symbols such as colon, semicolon, question mark, etc., along with the white space characters such as spaces, tabs, and new line characters is a text file. So all the symbols that we type are stored as a stream of characters in a file in the hard disk and can be processed sequentially. So here the text files are normally in human readable form. That is, we can read the file. They can be created and read using any text editor. We can read or write one character at a time. We can read or write one line at a time. We can read or write multiple lines at a time. Now we know what is a text file. Now let us see what are the steps to be followed for manipulation of a file. Point number one is, first we should declare a file pointer, and then we open a file. Then we have to read the data from the file. Then we can manipulate the contents of the file, and then after manipulating, write the data into the file, and finally we close the file. So the various steps or operations to be performed for doing file manipulation are: the first one, declare a file pointer, open a file, read the data from the file, manipulate the contents of the file, write data into the file, and close the file. Once we know what are the steps to be followed, now before looking into how to declare a file, let us see what is this capital letter FILE. Actually, it is a type defined data structure. Now let us see where it is defined. File is a derived data type. So it is not a basic data type. It is derived using the basic data type such as a short, char, etc. using the keyword struct, struct. So file can be used as a data type. Now this is the structured definition, type defined structure definition, and this definition is available in header file. If you observe, here we have short, unsigned, char, unsigned character, and so on. So it is type defined structure, it is a derived, these are all basic data types available. Using the basic data types, we are obtaining a new data type, that is file. So this we say it is a user defined data type. So it is defined in which file? It is defined in the header file stdio.h. So what is a file? File is type defined structure and it is defined in the header file stdio.h. So file can be used as a data type. Remember, it is derived using the basic data types such as a short, char, etc. using the keyword struct. Now we know what is a file and where it is defined. Now we have to declare a variable. So here I use FP. FP stands for file pointer. Here FP is pointer, it must be a pointer. So if it is a pointer, we have to precede the data type immediately after the data type, and before the variable we have to put the star. The moment we write star, it indicates that FP is a pointer. Pointer to what? Pointer to the file. And after this we may read or we may open. So file operations are done here, and after doing all the file manipulations, we may write the data into the file and we close the file. All these statements we can enter them within the braces, and here we can write void main. And remember, the capital letter FILE, file, which is the derived data type, is defined in stdio.h. So we have to include stdio.h in the beginning. So the program segment that shows the declaration of a file pointer is shown below. This is how we have to declare. We use any variable but should be a pointer to file, and the moment we use the derived data type file, it has to be, we have to include stdio.h because the definition of this, it is available in stdio.h. Now let us see how to declare a file pointer variable. A file pointer variable can be declared using the derived data type file as shown below. So here we write FP, a pointer to a file, where what is FILE? Capital letter file is the derived data type defined in the header file stdio.h. Since file is defined in stdio.h, we have to include the file stdio.h in the beginning of the program. And the second point is, since FP is pointer variable, it is the responsibility of the programmer to point FP to the opened file. So here when we use a variable FP, we have to open the file, and once the file is opened and the function returns a value, and that return value must be copied into the variable FP. Now let us see what are the modes in which a file can be opened. The different modes are, along with the meaning I am going to explain here. When we write R within the double quote, always you have to write within the double quote. This R stands for read mode. So we are going to open a file for reading. File must exist. if file does not exist, with the function fopen returns null. And then if you write W, it means we are supposed to create a file. So create an empty file for writing. If the file does not exist, a new file will be created. If a file already exists with the same name, the contents of the file are erased and the file is considered to be a new empty file. If a file is already existing and if you are going to open in write mode, then the contents of the file is deleted and it is considered as a new empty file. And we may use A. If I write within double quote, it means it is append mode. If a normal file exists, the data is written at the end of the existing file. So if a file does not exist, a new file is created and we can start writing into the file from the beginning. So if a file is opened in append mode, if the file is already existing and if we write that whatever we write, that will be appended at the end of the file, so we are going to use append mode. Then we may use R plus, open a file for reading and writing. If the file must exist, at the same time, instead of writing only W here as we specify W, here we can write W plus. It creates an empty file. It is used for both reading and writing. And finally, you can write A plus also. It opens file for reading and appending. Now, we have seen what are the various modes in which a file can be opened. All these modes will be using in our subsequent classes when I am going to explain how to open the file, how to read the file, how to display the file and so on. Now let us see what is fopen. Now here let us see what is the syntax of fopen. I write something like this, fopen, then you have to enter the file name and then we have to write the mode. In the previous slide already I showed what is this mode represent. Mode may be, it may be either R for reading, W for creating a new file and I can use A is used for appending. So I can say fopen file name comma mode, close the parenthesis and end with the semicolon. And this function returns a value and that returned value I am going to copy into a variable fp. Now you have to declare the variable fp. I can say fp is pointer to a file. Now tell me, once the file is opened and that if the file is already existing, the file is already existing means pointer to that file is returned. Otherwise, if the file is not present, if you are trying to open a file which is not present, the function fopen returns null. So here we check if fp equal to null. If fp equal to null, what is the meaning? Here I told already you can open the file in read mode or write mode or append mode. Suppose I am going to open the file in read mode, the file must exist. If the file is not present, the function fopen returns null. So fp now contains what? Null. So if fp equal to null, what is the meaning? Error in opening the file, file may not be there. So after that we terminate the program. So whenever fp equal to null, we are supposed to execute how many statements? 2 statements. So I enclose them within the braces like this. Now here the file as well as null. Null is defined in stdio.h. We have seen file is also defined in stdio.h. So we include stdio.h. So this is the syntax used for opening the file. Now here an existing file can be opened only in read mode. Point number 2 is an existing file can be erased and we can treat it as a new file. A new file can be created to write information into the file. Another point is an existing or non-existing file can be opened so that new data can be written at the end of the file. So fopen is a function using which an existing file can be opened only in read mode using the mode R. An existing file can be erased and treat it as a new file. This can be done by opening the file in write mode. That is, you have to write W within the double quote. In place of this mode, you can write this R if you want to open the file in read mode. In place of this mode, you can write W if you want to create a new file, or a new file can be created to write information into the file. So this also can be done by opening the file in write mode using W. An existing or non-existing file can be opened so that new data can be written at the end of the file. So this is called appending, and this can be done by opening the file using the mode A. So here, if I write R within the double quote, we are opening the file in read mode. If I write W here, we are going to create a new file. If I write A here, we may append into the existing file. At the end of the file, we may append something. Now we know what is fopen and how to use. Now let me see here. What can you tell me? What is FP? FP is a file pointer of type capital letter file. It is defined in stdio.h. It is a structure. Second one is a file name. File name contains the name of the file to be opened. And third one, what is that? Mode. Mode can be either R, it can be W, or it can be A, or it can be R plus, it can be W plus, or it can be A plus also. Now, what the function fopen returns? Already I told, if there is any problem in reading the file, a file may not be there, or you are opening the file in, say, W mode, write mode, but the file may be read only. In that case also, the function fopen returns null. Otherwise, fp points to the beginning of the opened file. So return value may be a file pointer to the beginning of the opened file, if the file is opened successfully, or null otherwise. Now we have seen what is open, what is syntax of open, and what will happen when fopen is when the file is opened successfully or when the file is not opened successfully. Now look here. After opening the file, read the contents of the file, manipulate the contents of the file. Finally, what we have to do? We have to close the file. The first operation to be performed on file is file opening, and the last operation to be performed on any file is fclose. Fclose means close the file. Now let us see what is fclose. The syntax of closing the file is something like this. We simply write fclose, and within the parenthesis we write file pointer, and we end with a semicolon. So here this ensures that all buffers are flushed out, all the links to the file are broken. Once the file is closed, to access the file, it has to be reopened. And finally, if a file is closed successfully, 0 is returned, otherwise EOF is returned. EOF is also defined in stdio.h. Its value is -1. Whenever the operation is successful, we return 0, otherwise EOF is returned. So fclose is a function using which an existing file can be closed. When we no longer need a file, we close the file. And second point is, this is the last operation to be performed in a file. It ensures all buffers are flushed, all the links will be broken. Once the file is created, to access the file it has to be reopened. Once the file is closed, to access the file it has to reopen. And if a file is closed successfully, 0 is returned, otherwise EOF is returned. So what is the syntax? fclose, you have to write fp within parenthesis like this and end with a semicolon. Now let us see how to open the file in read mode. Now the steps to open a file in read mode are: first, invoke the function fopen with the 2 arguments. So you have to write fopen and within the parenthesis, here what you have to write? 2 arguments you have to write. The first argument is the file name. So here we are supposed to find, here we are supposed to write the file name. Suppose the file name is input.txt, and that the file name must be enclosed within a double quote. So the first argument is the file name, which has to be opened. I have to open this file. Next, second argument is the mode in which the file has to be opened. Now I am supposed to open the file in which mode? Read mode. So what you have to write? You have to write within the double quote R. Then close the parenthesis and end with a semicolon. Now the function fopen returns null if the file does not exist. Otherwise, it returns a pointer to the opened file. So here the function fopen, it may return something. Whatever it returns, that we should copy into fp. Now if this file, I am supposed to open this file in which mode? Read mode. Suppose this file input.txt does not exist in the hard disk. In that case, the function fopen returns null. That null will be copied into where now? fp. If the file is already existing and if we are trying to open in read mode, then the file pointer points to the beginning of the file. So fp should be declared as what? File, and where it is defined in stdio.h. So write hash include stdio.h. Now let us see what will happen if non-existing file is opened in read mode. Now suppose a file input.txt is not at all present and we are opening it in which mode? Read mode. Is it possible for opening a file in read mode but the file does not exist? It's not possible. In that case, the function fopen returns what? Null. So fp contains null. So whenever fp, if file does not exist, fopen returns null. So here if I write if fp equal to null, what is the meaning? There is some problem. We are opening input.txt but it does not exist. So it is not possible to open the file. So if fp equal to null, we say error in opening the file and we terminate the program by writing exit 0. Whenever the condition is true, we are executing 2 statements. So those 2 statements must be enclosed within braces like this. Okay, next. Now let us see what will happen if existing file is opened in read mode. Suppose a file input.txt already exists and contents of that particular file, say this is the text what is there in this particular file name. Now what will happen is, and if you observe, this is the text which is there in this, and this indicates that it is end of file. This symbol is not there. I just indicate this symbol indicating it is end of file operation. So if the file does not exist, fopen returns null. Otherwise, it returns a pointer to the beginning of the file. Okay, now let us execute this. Is file is existing? Yes. Will it return null? No, because the file is already existing. Now what will happen is fp, it points to the beginning of the file. Is fp equal to null? No. Control comes out of this if statement, and this is place where we are supposed to read the contents of the file. We can manipulate the contents of the file. Later we can write back the manipulated result into this particular file. So here we can read the file and perform various operations, and after performing all operations on this particular file, we can close the file. That's all. Our job is over. So here we are opening the file and here we are closing the file. In between we may read or we may write. Next, let us see how to open the file in write mode. The same syntax I use. The steps to open a file are shown below. Point number 1 is invoke the function fopen. So here I write the function fopen with how many arguments? 2 arguments. So invoke the function with the 2 arguments. the first argument is the file name. So here I am supposed to enter the file name within the double quote. So the first argument is the file name which has to be opened. The second argument is the mode in which the file has to be opened. Now we are supposed to open the file in which mode? Write mode. So what should I write here? W within the double quote, close the parenthesis and end with the semicolon. The function fopen returns null. When the function fopen returns null, for example, suppose you are opening the file in write mode. If you open the file in write mode, but if the file is already read only, then it is not possible to open the file in write mode. In that case, function fopen returns null. Or if the file is there, a new file is created and it points to the beginning of the file. And whatever it is, fopen returns something, and whatever we return, that will copy into which variable? Fp. Now here we have to declare fp as a pointer to a file. File is defined in stdio.h. So go here and write #include stdio.h. So this is how we can open the file in which mode? Write mode. So here instead of writing R, we are writing what? W, indicating you are opening the file in write mode. Now what will happen if read only file is opened in write mode? As I told, suppose this is a file and this is the end of file, and this file is there, but we are opening in which mode? Write mode, but it is read only. When I say read only, you cannot modify the contents of this particular file. So you cannot open this file in which mode? Write mode. In that case, the function fopen returns null. That null will be copied into where now? Fp. So here, if read only file exists, fopen returns null. So if fp equal to null, what does it mean? If read only file we are trying to open in write mode, which is not possible. So let us display the error message. Error message is error in opening the file, and finally let us terminate the program. Now how many statements we are executing? 2 statements whenever this particular condition is true. So all these 2 statements must be enclosed within braces like this. So here, when a read-only file is opened in write mode, we cannot perform any operations on the file, and hence after displaying the message error in opening the file, the program is terminated. So this is what will happen when a read-only file is opened in write mode. Now let us see what will happen if a normal text file is opened in write mode. Now all these statements, whatever we written so far, it remains same. Now let us see, let me assume this file is not read only and we are opening in which mode? W mode. In that case, erases the contents of the file. Now earlier we had this text, now contents of the file will be removed, and returns a pointer to the beginning of the file, and we get a file pointer which points to the beginning of the file. So you should be very careful when you are opening the file in write mode, because the earlier contents of the file will be deleted permanently. You will not know what is there in that particular file unless you store it in some other place. Now if fp equal to null, no. So control comes here, and here we write the data into the file and perform various operations. We may write something into the file. Suppose we have written some text here. After writing, automatically file pointer will move to the next character. Now we finally close the file pointer. So when a normal file is opened in write mode, the contents of the given file are deleted. So the file pointer points to the beginning of the file, and we can start writing the new characters into the file. Now the file pointer will point to the end of the file. Now here, after writing something, the file pointer points to the end of the file. Now let us say what will happen if non-existing file is opened in write mode. Now let me assume there is a file by name input.txt and file is non-existing, it is not there. Else what will happen? It creates a new file name input.txt. If input.txt does not exist in the hard disk, that file will be created. So that file will be created and returns a pointer to the beginning of the file. So fp points to the beginning of the new file. So is fp equal to null? No, it is not equal to null because fp points to something else here, it is not null. So control comes out of the if statement and here we can write the data into the file and we can perform various operations on files. So we can write something here, write something, and automatically as we write a character into the file, automatically file pointer moves to the end. Now finally, after doing all the operations, we can close the file. So when a non-existing file is opened in write mode, a new file is created and we can write into the file. Now what will happen? The file pointer will point to the end of the file. Now see here, the file pointer points to the end of the file. Okay, now let us see how to open the file in append mode. The steps to open a file in append mode are: first point is invoke the function fopen with the two arguments. So fopen, here we should write two arguments. Can you tell me what is the first argument? It should be the file name. So the first argument is the file name which has to be opened. Suppose I want to open input.txt. Second one should be what? Mode. So here second argument is the mode in which the file has to be opened. We are opening in which mode? Append mode. So here we have to write within double quote A, close the parenthesis and end with a semicolon. Now the function fopen returns null or it may return a pointer to a file. Now let us see when it returns null and when it returns a pointer to a file. Now whatever it returns that we are supposed to copy into a variable, let me copy that into a variable called fp. Now tell me how you declare fp. You have to say fp is a pointer to a file. Where file is defined, it is defined in stdio.h. So go here and write #include stdio.h. So this is how we can open the file in append mode. Now let us see what will happen if read-only file is opened in append mode. When I say append mode, we are supposed to write something into that. So if it is read-only, we cannot write. So I cannot open the file in which mode? Append mode. So if I want to add something at the end here, I cannot open read-only file. It should not be read-only, it should be a normal file. If it is read-only, I cannot touch it, I cannot manipulate it, I cannot change the contents of this particular file. So in that particular case, the function fopen returns null. So here, if read-only file exists, fopen returns null. So here I write if fp equal to null, print error in opening the file and exit 0. So these two statements are executed whenever this condition is true. So enclose them within the braces. Now let us see here. When a read-only file is opened in which mode? Append mode. We cannot perform any operation on the file and hence after displaying the message error in opening the file, the program is terminated. So read-only file, we cannot open the read-only file in which mode? Append mode. We cannot open the read-only file in write mode also. So we have to use R. If it is read-only, we have to use only R. We cannot write W or you cannot write A like this. Now let us see what will happen if the normal text file is opened in append mode. When I say normal text, suppose definitely it will not return null. In that case, it returns a pointer to the end of the file. So here, assume some text is already present here. If it is present, some text is present here, this is the end of the file. So FP points to the end of the file. So is FP equal to null? FP is not equal to null because FP is pointing to the end of the file. So what will happen? Control comes out of the if statement and these statements are executed. Here what you can do? Here we can write the data into the file and perform various operations on the file, and finally we can close the file. So here we can write the text Sai Vidya Institute of Technology, and finally we can write F close FP. When I say F close FP, we are closing the file pointer. So when a normal file is opened in append mode, we can insert the characters at the end of the file. Now the file pointer will always points to the end of the file. Here the file pointer always points to the end of the file. Now finally we see what will happen if non-existing file is opened in append mode. Now here the function fopen, it will not return null. So control comes to the else portion. It creates a new file by name input.txt. If input.txt, if it is not there in the hard disk, a new file will be created. Okay, and it returns a pointer to the beginning of the file. So it returns a pointer to the beginning of the file, and that will be copied into which variable? FP. So here I write FP. Now tell me, is FP equal to null? No. So definitely control comes out of this and these statements are executed. So this is the place where we are supposed to write data into the file and perform various operations on the file. So after performing various operations, such as I may write something into the file, and automatically the file pointer moves, as and when we write a character into the file, file pointer moves to the next character. So now FP is pointing to the end of the file. Now we can close the file. So when a non-existing file is opened in append mode, a new file is created and we can write the data into the file. Now the file pointer will always point to the end of the file. Now let us see what are different I/O file functions that are available in C language. Type of the data, we can have integer data, we can have string data, we can have character data. When I say integer, it can be float, it can be double also. Integer or float or double here. So type of the data can be integer, float or double, it can be string or it can be character. Input function and what is the output function? We normally use fscanf for input and fprintf for output. For string we use fgetS, normally we use fgetS, and this is for output function we use fputS, and for character we use fgetC, and for writing into the file we use fputC. So using this actually using fscanf we can write even characters also, we can write string also, but normally for string operations we use these functions. For character manipulations we use fgetC and fputC. So the different I/O file functions that are available in C are, these are the file functions. These are input functions, these are output functions. Now let us see how to read the data from the file using fscanf function. Now look at this. We can enter, suppose I want to enter 101